don't count out Casey Drake in that 87. He's right.
One more lap to go here at Indy. He ran him all the way from 3 seconds back. 2 laps to go. Oh, Alto gets fun. Oh, Matthew gets the apron. Around the Drexler. He spins right from the back. Huge wreck. The 2 flies up in the air. It's 3 wide. Oh, what a move by Derek. He wants to go.
Tries to send him up the hill, but can't quite do it.
Now between the 2 is 2 car lengths. Too little too late for Derek on spin. Oh, clapping gets third. Clapping gets third. Oh my gosh. Side by side. 3 wide at the wire.
We welcome everybody back here live for tonight's iSCAR event as everybody gets settled down to set up round number 2 out of 10 of this illustrious super late model series. Glad you could join us in here for tonight. My name is Ezeckiel Reyes.
And I'm Dewey Schramm. Thank you guys for joining in here for tonight as we make our way to the track that everybody starts off with in iRacing, USA International Speedway. So I'm sure everybody here knows this track very well because, of course, you literally start off at this place. So it should be a pretty competitive one here. We already have about 30 or so people here in the session, which means that for the first time ever in the Super Late Model Tour, we're going to have an LCQ that will result in some people not making the race.
Yeah, that's right. I'm interested to see on who's going to make it here for tonight because we saw during the Irwindale race that we had a lot of people wreck during heats, as well as the LCQ that really wasn't an LCQ. But yeah, it should be interesting to see on how this will all turn out for all these drivers out on the racetrack. And currently leading the standings as of right now, Hunter Johnson in that number 12.
Points leader Eric Heater, who I guess lucked into, for the most part, a win last week at Irwindale. Looks like he's P17 right now on the charts, but I don't think these practice times are really indicative of how good someone's car is. You look at from first to 20th, the times are only about 0.3 of a second apart from Hunter Johnson down to 20th place. So there's quite a few good cars, and they're all really close together. So I think this could really be anybody's race here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, from first all the way to 29th, it's less than a second, which is honestly really impressive here around USA. Of course, that just plays into the factor that you just said earlier. Everybody starts off at this racetrack. Your first laps on iRacing get logged here at USA, so everybody's familiarized with this racetrack, hopefully. Unless if you straight up skipped the rookie class, which you obviously can't, but in meantime of that, yeah. Drivers just flinging around laps here around this now demolished racetrack, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's one of the funny things I think about iRacing is, you literally start off at a track that no longer exists, but that's the way things go sometimes. But under a minute left here in practice. There's Christopher Weil in 4th. He got 2nd last week. Hunter Johnson and Blaze Brinkley, they had good runs last week. Brinkley dominated that race before being taken out by Hunter on that 2nd green-white checkered. So I don't know if Brinkley's going to necessarily have revenge on his mind, but I think, that may not be the cleanest of racing between those two tonight. But we shall see how that all plays out.
Alright, we'll go ahead and explain the format here really quickly as drivers get situated on the racetrack. So, 25 drivers in total make the main event. 3 heats are going to be ran. Top 5 per heat move themselves into the feature. Everybody else gets shoved into the LCQ, and you got to work your stuff through the LCQ to make it through into tonight's event. And I'm not sure how many LCQs we're going to run. It's either I think a maximum of 13 drivers are going to be in one LCQ. It's going to be 10 laps to decide all of that for the time being, and it seems as though practice has hit the double zeros. We're going to go ahead and scoot our shells to the side and play the national anthem. So we'll be right back right over this as we play the national anthem. Rise up, remove your hats as we salute our nation's colors. And we welcome everybody back here live for tonight's main event. iSCAR presenting the Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour. Currently qualifying underway, and right now we're seeing some drivers take their fastest two around the racetrack. Ethan Johnson in the number 51 currently tops the charts. Harry Grindle in second place. Noah Allison in third. So a very surprising top three as of right now, but there's still more drivers to be logged in on the racetrack. Currently watching the 12 of Hunter Johnson work himself into three.
I'm not sure if Ethan Johnson has ever made a start here in iSCAR before, but if this is his first ever start, winning the pole is a pretty good way to kick off your debut race. Of course, Harry won a race in the last Super Late Model season, so we know he's got speed in that 70 machine. Currently P2 on the board. This is the 112 of Blaze Brinkley, who again dominated last week at Irwindale before that late race spin relegated him to, I believe, around 10th place or so. So we'll see if he can get some redemption here tonight. And up to third, there's Jacob Hefner. I'm not sure what number that is. I can't quite see it on the ticker, but
Number one.
I believe this is his first ever iSCAR start as well. So good to see him here. Part-time ARCA driver.
Brinkley works himself into second place as looks like Hunter Johnson on the 12 going to try one more attempt to work himself through. Gets a bit upset off of turn number 2, but works himself into 3 and 4 regardless. Oh, missed the bottom there. That's going to cost him a bit of time and gets a bit loose, tags the wall. Ooh. That lap's probably not going to count. And Hunter, oh man, that's going to be huge. He's going to be relegated all the way back of the heats because this qualifying order lines up the heat. Of course, it doesn't decide on what heat you're... I mean, it does decide what heat you're going to be in depending on what position you finished in. So, first place is going to be first heat. Second place is going to be the second heat. Third place is going to be the third heat. All starting up on front row. And after that, fourth, first heat. Fifth, second heat. Sixth, third heat. And it goes down from there as you see Christopher Weil work himself second.
Yeah, it's a similar setup to what we had in the truck race at Eldora a couple weeks ago, where we think we had 5 heats in that one, so first through fifth were the pole sitters for those. So we'll see where these people shape up. So even though you may be third on the charts or second on the charts, but that still means if you're in that top 3, you're guaranteed a pole spot for your heat. And with more than 25 people in the session tonight, and that's not good if you're Nick Miller. But the heats are actually going to matter tonight because, again, with more than 25 cars, there's people that are going to miss the race. So even though we had a bit of a wreck fest in the heats last week, I doubt that's going to be the case this week. Yeah,
and man, there's a ton of drivers. And for that number 12, Hunter Johnson, a disappointing lap logged down on in. He's going to have to start all the way to the tail end. So we'll see if he can relegate himself a top 5 through tonight's event. But here we go. It seems as though we've transitioned ourselves, and we will work ourselves into our first of 3 heats. Top 5 from each heat move themselves forward, and this one led by the number 51 of Austin Johnson.
Yep, Ethan Johnson here in row number 1, and Harry Grindle is outside in the 70.
I said Austin Johnson. I meant Ethan Johnson at number 51. Harry alongside of him, of course, coming from across the pond. 86, Dominic Howe, and Mike Rosero. Looks like row number 2.
Row 3, Garrett Hess in the 777, and to his outside, Scott Yost in the 85.
Hunter Ropp in the number 61, row number 4, Josh Patterson alongside of him.
And rounding out your top 10 here for heat number 1, David Bachman in the 84. And Hunter Johnson in the 12. And that will be it for Heat 1. So 10 cars here for the first race. I believe these are 8 laps, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, 8 laps. Yeah, and all these, you see that number 12, Hunter Johnson.
All the way back there, yeah. He'll definitely have his work cut out for him here.
Has to work himself through into this top 5, and inside this top 5 is some interesting names: Garrett Hess, Michael Bracero, and Dominic Howe. Dominic hasn't been in victory lane in a while, but I mean, he already picked up a couple victories this season. We'll see if he could start off this one with a heat win. And for that number 51 of Ethan Johnson, of course, coming in here as a rookie, won the pole. We'll see if he could lead the field here to the green as one more pace lap to go as they work themselves on the back.
Yeah, there are some really good cars in this heat. Rosero had a good run last week. Hunter himself had a good run last week. Grindle and Yost are past winners here in this series, so we'll see who can make their way through and get themselves into tonight's event.
Alright, here we go. It looks like the 51's going to lay back the restart. Pace car scoots itself down onto pit road. Green flag will drop as Ethan Johnson, the 51, will lead the field to the green. Gets a bit sideways off there as he might have gotten bumped there by the 86, but they worked themselves into the one regardless. Ethan Johnson will clear for that top spot.
Yeah, a bit of a funky start there. I think the 51 may not have gone at that well, but still clears for the lead into turn 3. First 3 now single file and make that the top 5 as Rosero files in front of Garrett Hess. Battle here already for P6. I believe that is Scott Yost and Hunter Johnson. And Dominic Howell goes through the grass in turn 1 and holds on for the save, but he's going to get a tap from Hess out of 2.
Wow, what a save by the 86 and good awareness not to run into that number 23. Oh, he might get turned again!
Oh, he's not going to save it that time, and a head-on into the outside wall. And that is going to relegate Dominic to the LCQ. So he saved it once, but could not save it twice. And that puts the 777 of Hess now up into 4th. And look at Hunter Johnson already now up into 5th after starting in 10th. And now he's going for 4th.
Oh, Hess came down on him just a bit. Hunter's going to nose himself down to the inside, but I think Dominic's going to be madder than a Hornet about that contact with Rosero. Hunter now works himself down low as Hess overshoots the corner.
10th to 4th in 3 laps goes to 12 of Hunter Johnson, so we know that 12 has plenty of speed. Just had that bit of a goof up there on his qualifying lap, but quickly resolving that issue already, as he's already gotten himself here into a transfer spot.
Now it's Hess, the last person in as of right now. We'll see if the 02, Josh Patterson, could work himself into the mix, and Scott Yost in the 85 also in there as well. But it seems as though cleaner than what we saw last week from Irwindale, as Hunter Johnson's closing the gap between himself and Rosero.
Just 3 to go already. These laps are going by fairly quickly here. And here's a battle for that 3rd spot. This is Johnson going underneath the 23 of Rosero. And into 3, the 12 will easily pick up that spot. And up into 3rd he goes.
Hess seems as though he's secured that 5th spot as long as he keeps himself straight. Has pulled himself, looks like a 2nd over Josh Patterson, and Scott Yost also closing the gap between himself and Patterson, so he might have a battle here for the 6th spot. But for that number 51 of Ethan Johnson, first time he's been here in iSCAR and already showing a lot of dominance as he hits the white flag.
Yeah, see that gap that he's put between himself and Harry Grindle, pretty much in a zip code of his own right now. And that 70's gotten a pretty good gap on Hunter as well, so I think that gap for Harry is sufficient to hold on to 2nd. But meanwhile, up front, out of turn 4, Ethan Johnson will take the win here in heat number 1, and he will start on the pole for the main event.
You see Josh Patterson works himself off the corner. Unfortunate for him, P6. And these 5 drivers on top of your screen move themselves forward. Johnson, Grindle, Johnson again, Rosero, and Hess. And the heat number 2 going to go up and away here in a moment as we start gridding.
And we'll get a look here at your starting lineup. Christopher Weil, who was runner-up last week to Eric Heater at Irwindale, and Jacob Hefner in 2nd.
Kevin White Jr., nice efforts by him. Now he's going to be in row number 2, and here's that number 21, Carson Poindexter. Did not have a good bust out into the season at Irwindale, wrecked multiple times. We'll see if the 21 could recover.
Row 3, Sartaj Mon in the 49, and Joe Burgee in the 83.
Our number 4 going to be that number, looks like 105 of Seth Hood. Kyler Wynn right alongside of him.
And rounding out your top 10 here, Brayson Collins in the 5, and Nick Miller in the 95. And then Max Zurich will roll off 11th shotgun here in heat number 2. So 11 cars this time compared to 10 for the last time. So I guess one more car to compete for one of those 5 spots. We saw Hunter Johnson just now work his way from 10th to 3rd in a matter of those 8 laps. Will we see a similar thing happen, or will this top 5 remain pretty consistent to where it is now?
We'll just have to see, and the last person who holds that last transfer position going to be Sir Tajman and that number 49, Joe Berge, the first one looking in. There's a lot of drivers who made last week's race outside of this top 5 as of right now, and for Jacob Hefner and Christopher Weil, looking to pull themselves away to get themselves rolled off out of USA. And for Hefner, I think first start here in iSCAR. We'll see what that number 1 could do off the green.
Yeah, always fun to see a new driver here in iSCAR, especially one that does run some real life races. Of course, again, ran the ARCA race at Daytona last year for Chad Bryant Racing, and does run some late models as well. So I guess this might be right in his wheelhouse, and we'll see what he can do here against Christopher Weil and the rest of them.
Pace car suits itself on the pit road. Weil will hold back the field just momentarily, but will hit the green this time by already. A lot of contact as Weil decides to go on green. Hefner seems as though he'll get a better restart through the center of the corner and move the 1 to the top.
I believe that was Sartaj and Joe Berge that hit each other coming to the line, but thankfully neither of them spin out, and looks like Hefner's going to have a good run on the outside, but Weil hangs tough on the inside, and it's going to be a drag race here to lead lap 1, but it looks like Hefner is going to get it, and he will clear into 1.
Weil works himself to the backside of that number 1, follows him in pursuit as everybody gets lined up right behind. Battle there for that safe spot as looks like Seth Hood will lose that position. Now Berge will peek in for the transfer spot. He might door the 49 for it.
And looks like they're going to make some more contact out of 4, and the 83 will barely get it at the line, but still 6 laps to go for that 83 to try to hold on to it.
So Taj is trying to pinch down that number 83 as much as he can, but looks like he does not get a good corner exit. He'll have 6 more shots to get down into turn number 3, but looks like Berge has the edge off of turn number 4.
Sartaj closed there briefly, but I think the 83 got a better corner exit. 5 to go here this time as Hefner continues to lead over Weil and Kevin White.
Battle up front, though. Looks like Christopher Weil has caught that number 1 of Jacob Hefner. Now Hefner will fend out down to the low side, cut off that number 41. Also a battle right behind. Looks like Kevin White Jr., Carson Poindexter going to go at it side by side for this position as Nick Miller outside of the top 5 right now. He works around Seth Hood.
Yeah, Miller's still on the outside looking in, though. Still needs to get in front of those 2 cars in front of him, Sartaj Mon and Joe Berge. Otherwise, he will end up going to the LCQ. So the action here is up front, though. Christopher Weil with another run here on Hefner. Looks like he'll file back in line into turn 1 as that 1 continues to lead here in his first iSCAR start.
Berge's pulled himself. Looks like a car length over that number. Uh-oh, he's now blinked out. Now he reappears.
There he is.
Here we go.
Here comes Weil again. And almost contact, and Weil can't quite get there. And Hefner clears again into turn 1. I think Weil might be trying the high side. Might give that 1 a tap here out of turn 2. And Weil gets a bit squirrely. That 41 definitely letting Hefner know that he's there.
We'll have 1 more shot to work himself around for what is to be P2 in the feature event. White flag this time by, and it's Hefner Weil.
Yep, the winner of this race will start in 2nd, and the 2nd place car in this race will finish 4th as Sartaj goes around.
Sartaj goes around, but that was outside that top 5 transfer position. Looks like he was trying to work himself around the 83 of Berge, but off the final corner, Hefner win. And Weil will finish out 2nd, but for 5th spot, Joe Berge moves himself forward, and for Nick Miller in that number 95, 1 position short. He'll have to work himself through the LCQ.
And that'll put Nick Miller in the 2nd starting spot for the LCQ. Not ideal, but at least he'll be starting up there when the LCQ happens. So Jacob Hefner will be starting in 2nd for the main event, but before we get there, we've got 1 more heat and the LCQ. And the front row here for heat number 3, Blaze Brinkley, the dominant car last week, and Noah Allison in the 24.
Row number 2 going to go ahead and consist of that last week's winner, number 28 of Eric Heater, who leads points. He leads, looks like 3 points over that number 41 of Christopher Weil, who finished 2nd in that heat. Alec Daff in that number 18, right alongside of him.
Yeah, good to see Daffin back after returning at Dega Week. Row number 3, Aaron Brown in the 151 and Malachi Drake in the 90.
Row number 4, Luke LaFaro and Henry Tabor round out this 4th row.
And rounding out your top 10 here, Henry Clapper in the 34 and the other Drake, Casey, in the 87. And then rounding out your field here, Benjamin White in the 9.
Yeah, Benjamin all the way stuck in the back as we grid ourselves. Looks like only 8. Looks like, yeah, 8 drivers. So LaFaro, Casey, and Benjamin not gridded up as of right now. So that means, looks like...
That's LCQ for them if they don't grid up.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe some of them don't plan on starting or maybe left the session already, but regardless, that will... If they do plan on racing, that's, I guess, not the approach you necessarily want to have. So 8 cars here for 5 spots rather than 11.
And for Blaze Brinkley in that 112, trying to get a bit of redemption after last week. Of course, that contact with that number 12, Hunter Johnson, basically sealed his fate from that win.
He had that one, yeah. He led, I believe, all but around 15 or so laps of that race. Did everything right. And just a little bit of contact on one of those green-white checkers sent that 112 around and handed the race win to Eric Heater, who happens to start right behind him in this heat in 3rd. So we'll see what that 28 can do after getting that win last week.
Alright, field works themselves down the back straightaway. For that 112 of Blaze Brinkley. If he wins this heat, he'll start himself 3rd in tonight's race. 2nd will start himself in 6th. 3rd will start himself in 9th. As pace car suits himself on a pit road. Hit him up. Green flag this time by. Rub it away.
Green.
Looks like Brinkley's going to hold back the restart a bit. Now they're underway. And into turn 1 they go, as Allison did not get that good of a restart, and that will allow Heater to already press the attack here for 2nd place. And contact already as the 18 goes around and he gets hit by one other car, and that will send both of them likely to the LCQ, and that's the 18 of Alec Daffin, so not a good start to his night.
That's right, but I expect that number 18 to work himself through that LCQ. Hopefully he's not one of those drivers who get eliminated here for tonight. But up front, though, the 112 of Blaze Brinkley has already set himself, looks like a 3/10 lead over Noah Allison and that number 24. Allison up the corner, looks like overshot it just a bit. Here comes here in that number 28.
Yeah, simple mistake could easily cost you a spot, but thankfully for Noah Allison, still in 2nd place. So even if he loses one spot, still within the 5 that will move on, as we have a rear camera shot here from Brinkley in the 112 into 3 as he tries to pull away here from the rest of the pack. Looks like Heater may have entered that turn a bit too hot, and that allows Aaron Brown in the 151 to close in just a bit.
Looks like Noah Allison's a bit faster than that Brinkley machine. Slowly closing the gap between himself and that 112. Oh, Allison a bit sideways off the corner, but luckily he keeps the car straight. Hopefully that doesn't affect his time, but in the meantime of that, looks like Brinkley is under pressure.
Yeah, Allison's keeping it pretty close. The gap has not really changed at all between that 112 and the 24. In fact, I think it may have actually decreased a little bit. So that 24 definitely keeping things interesting. But you see that the top 5 has pretty much separated themselves from the rest of the field, as Malachi Drake in the 90 has quite a bit of breathing room between himself and 6th place Henry Clapper.
Themselves into 3 and 4. I mean, not 3 and 4, 1 and 2. As, Aaron Brown into the wall.
Still in 4th place, but going to cost him just a tad bit of time here. 2 laps to go remaining here in the 3rd and final heat. There's Malachi in the 90, the final car currently in, and you see the gap between himself and Clapper. So barring anything crazy, I believe this top 5 is pretty much set here for tonight.
Up front, though, Brinkley will work himself into the corner. It looks like got a bad entry into 3. Gap closes up even more. White flag this time by. 1 more lap to go for Blaze Brinkley, and that 112 again had that Irwindale win secure until got turned off the restart by Hunter Johnson. And he'll work himself into 3 and 4. We'll see if Noah Allison can fling in 1 more charge. Too far back to really make something happen off of it and off the final corner. Blaze Brinkley. win.
And he will be joined in the main event by Noah Allison, Eric Heater, last week's winner, Aaron Brown, and Malachi Drake. So congrats to those 5 for clinching a spot in the main event. Henry Clapper, it looks like he's going to end up lining up 3rd for the LCQ. And speaking of the LCQ, we are already gridding up for it. So this will be the final 10 spots on the grid that will make up our 25-car field here for tonight. Josh Patterson and Henry Clapper look like will be row number 1 here for this LCQ.
Apologies, a bit of ATVO issues as I try to get things situated. In the meantime of that, people starting to grid up right in front of your screen. And looks like... Oh, we will have 2 LCQs for tonight, so...
So that's, I think, top 5 from each of them then.
Yep.
Which is why Clappert is now 2nd instead of 3rd. So Patterson and Clappert, 1, 2. Looks like Urich and Bachman are going to be row 2.
Row 3 is Tabor and Seth Hood.
Rupp and Casey Drake, row 4. And then 9th place, Kyler Wynn in the 084. So this will be 9 cars for 5 spots. So 4 people in this race will be going home after these next 8 laps.
Yep, and top 5 from this last chance qualifier work themselves forward. So we'll have to see on how they all do as we progress on forward. And for Hunter Rupp, Casey Drake, unfortunate for them, looks like they won't be one of our 5 that are going to be moving on because they did not grid up.
So it looks like we're going to have 7 cars for 5 spots instead. So that actually helps Kyler Wynn a bit because he was going to start in 9th, but with those 2 not gridding, he'll start in 7th instead. So 2 less cars that 084 has to try to get by if he wants to get himself in.
All right, here we go. Pace car is going to scoot itself down to the pit road. 10 laps this time for this small LCQ event. Of course, we run 2 LCQs here. So this is the first of 2 for Josh Patterson, that 0-2. Green flag as Clapper tried to jump the restart. Oh, man, he was way off ahead, and that might be a penalty as they work themselves into 1. Patterson will clear that 34 easily. But, Yerk to the low side. Nice move by him.
I think... Oh, and what a save there by Patterson out of turn 2. But I think Clapper may have been letting off to try to give that spot back to maybe avoid getting a black flag. We'll see if that is enough or not. Side by side right now for second place between Clapper and Tabor, as Patterson still leads after that impressive save out of turn 2.
Yeah, he's starting to pull himself away, but man, the scramble is on for this last chance qualifier. They're 2 by 2. Down into 3.
Oh, and Bachman runs right into the back of Clapper and boots him out of the way, and that's going to hurt both of them, as they're both now out of the field. Bachman in 6th, Clapper in 7th, and I'm sure that 34 is definitely not going to be happy with that 84. Meanwhile, contact for second place between Urich and Tabor, and that 6 has a big slide out of turn 2, but he will also save his race car.
Oh, Tabor trying to fend out Kyler Wynn from last place, now into 2nd. Urich blocking for that 5th spot as they work themselves into 1.
And I would watch further back. It would not surprise me if that 34 gives the bumper to the 84 to try to get around him after that contact just a lap or 2 ago. And even though those 2 aren't in right now, if something happens to anybody else that's up here, that could easily be a bump for the final transfer spot. Yep,
that is right, and they're starting to stack up from this 3rd spot. And here comes Clapper. Oh, looks like he overshot the corner, but they're starting to stack up around where Henry Tabor is. Looks like Urich's going to peek to the low side of Seth Hood.
That's for 4th, but can't get there. Bachman has caught the 6 of Urich, so now we get a good battle here going. Urich has a bad exit at turn 4, and that's going to allow Bachman to get the nose under there in turn 1. And the 84 tries to make a move here for P5. Urich goes way high into turn 1, and Bachman gets himself into the field for now.
Yep, he has that number 6 of Urich has 5 more chances to get around that number 84. Oh, looks like he got
really set it in there that
yeah,
time.
It got tight.
And Clapper's still sitting there in 7th, so things are looking a bit grim now as Bachman starts to pull away from the 6 and the 34. Good battle here going for P3. That's Tabor and Seth Hood. as Wynn and Patterson have started to pull away even more from the remainder of this field.
Yeah, they're basically gone, and looks like
Patterson
Patterson might have tagged the wall. Oh, here we go. Bachman washed up the racetrack. Yurik's gonna have a shot in the 1.
And he's got the nose as Bachman overshoots, and we'll see out of turn 2. Yurik can't get the nose under, and he hooks the 84, and he will spin down the backstretch. And now Clappert's going to get up to Yurik here into turn 3. So now this is the battle, as Bachman looks like he's more than likely out of it now. 2 to go.
2 laps to go, but Clappert's knocking on the door. That number 6 looks like Yurik's going to flat arc the corner in just to cut off the 34. What will Clappert do to buy that number 6 machine of Max Yurik, the last person in as of right now?
White flag here for the first LCQ. Patterson continues to pace the field here, with Kyler Wynn going from 7th to 2nd to get himself in. But our attention here still on that 5th spot. Yurik and Clappert, it's down to those 2 to see who will make it in. And out of turn 4, Patterson takes the LCQ win here. And it looks like Max Yurik is going to hold on for that 5th and final spot. So Henry Clappert, unfortunately, will be the first car out of tonight's race, along with Bachman in the 84.
Yikes. And yeah, Bachman, that's disappointment for that number 84. Of course, was one of those drivers who was running during the Urbandale event, as we work ourselves into the final LCQ of the night, led by the 95 and Nick Miller.
So the top 5 from this heat as well will get in. Miller will be joined on the front row here by Scott Yost in the 85.
It's Alec Daffin in the 18 alongside the 5 of Brayson Collins.
Dominic Cow and Luke Cafaro. We'll see if that 187 grids this time after not gridding for his heat race.
Sir Talishma and Peter Kenny not in this session.
And Benjamin White, I don't think he's in a grid either. So we'll scroll back a bit through the field and see if that 187's on the racetrack. And I think he is this time. There he is in that red car. So it looks like you got 7 cars again for 5 spots, with Benjamin not gridded once again. So Lafaro currently the first one out, but has 10 laps to make up just 1 spot.
We'll see how he does it as a roll off here for this one. For the 95 and Miller. Not really sure where he finished last week. And Scott Yost in that number 85, of course, series sponsor. And I expect that number 85 to be in victory lane like he was last season, the late model series. We'll have to see on how he does, but in the meantime with that, 1 more lap to go. Nick Miller in that number 95. Trying to pull himself up and away with this LCQ win.
Yeah, points-wise, it's imperative that that 95 gets himself in to tonight's field, but thankfully on the pole here for these next 10 laps, already at an advantage in that department. Yost also, after making last week's race, if he wants to stay in the points battle, he needs to stay in this top 5 as well.
Alright, here we go. As the field works themselves into the front straightaway, Miller looks like as though he's going to lead the field to the green. Holds back it just a bit. Already a move to the inside by Sir Charles Mom, but can't make much of it. It works themselves into 1. Looks like Miller gets clear. And the 18 at Alec Daffin also following in pursuit. Maybe 3 wide right behind us. Sir Taj gets a bit, looks like sideways off the corner. He loses at least 2-3 positions now outside of this top 5.
Yeah, and the 85, the Yost didn't get a good restart either. He already drops from 2nd to 4th, as both Daffin and Howe were able to maneuver themselves around that 85, and Sartaj taps the 5, who has an impressive save there in the middle of turn 1, but that's going to definitely cost Brayson Collins an important time, and he's going to really have to haul some rear end to get himself in this field now.
Even though he got turned, you still have 9 laps to make much of it. We'll see on what happens as the top 5 get themselves situated.
Miller continues to lead here in 1. Daffin trying to close that gap on the 95. Still is quite a few laps to try and do so. Luke Lafaro in the 187, still the first car out as of right now, with the 49 of Sartaj Mon still the 5th and final car in. And Brayson Collins to see him a bit further back after that contact with the 49.
Sartaj is not safe yet. Luke Lafar in that 187 sort of closing that gap, as well as the 5 of Brayson Collins is also still there as well. Top 3 slowly pulling themselves away. And for that 95 and Nick Miller trying to secure himself a feature spot. But looks like Daffin, I don't know if he's closing up the gap just a bit, but that 86 seems as though the fastest of these 3.
Yeah, Dominic's starting to close the gap on the 18. We'll see if he can get there before this LCQ is over. Despite the bad start for the 85 of Yo, still sitting comfortably in 4th with 5 laps to go, with a bit of a gap between himself and Sartaj. So we'll see if he can keep himself in that spot, or maybe even gain some if something happens to one of these top 3.
Go down the back, and Sartaj is losing a bit of ground, but Scott Yost is also losing a bit of ground to those top 3. I think that top 3 is in a zip code of their own, as Dominic scrapes the wall off of 4 laps to go this time by.
Looks like no harm, no foul for the 86. Lost a tad bit of time there to the 18 of Daffin, but still plenty of distance between him and Scott Yost, who's got himself has a pretty decent gap back to 5th place. Brayson Collins looks like he's almost caught the 187 of Lafaro, but those two will not be battling for a transfer spot, as they both need to get themselves past that 49 if they want to get themselves into tonight's race.
Yeah, it looks like Sartaj Mon is losing a bit of time to that 187, but I don't think there's enough time to really for it to be viable for that 187's favor. Who knows what could happen?
He's going to have to pull the full send of the century if he wants to get past that 49, and if he does that, it's probably going to end up costing him a spot anyway because of a black flag. So it's going to take quite the slip up, I think, from the 49 if either of those two get by him. White flag here for the LCQ number 2. Nick Miller still leads the field.
Yeah, I think that top 3 is secure, but all eyes are on this 5th spot. Sartaj Mon trying to hold off Luke Lafaro. The gap between themselves is looks like, Lafaro really sent it into the corner. He might have a shot coming into 3, but I think it's just too little too late.
He really sends it in up high, and will not be enough as Miller takes the win here with Daffin and Howe in 2nd and 3rd. Scott Yost 4th, and Sartaj Mon, the last car to advance from the LCQ. And you see the displeasure there shown by Brayson Collins after that tap on lap 2. But we'll have our little happy hour session here. Just a quick couple minutes to get some last minute stuff, I guess, fixed if you're someone that's in the field. Maybe if you didn't feel comfortable at a certain part of the track, try to nail down something. Who knows? Different people do different things with this couple minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Get your brake bias and steering ratio tuned up well for a long run. And of course now these track conditions set up for this 100 lap event.
So I think if those heats and LCQs were any indication of what we're going to see tonight, I think we are in for a pretty good race, especially now that we're going to be going from looks like 10-car mini races to a 25-car longer race. So now we're going to be able to see how different these cars race and how different people decide to race with a much bigger field now than what we just saw.
Yeah, and especially with we had a lot of fast people per heat, so with now all 25 of those drivers on the racetrack, I'm curious to see on who's gonna filter to the top. For Hunter Johnson, that number 12. As Dominic is sort of flipping over in the infield, but 3 minutes left. Not really much to talk about. Guess we could talk about the track itself. USA right next to the drag strip. You actually see it to the right side of your screen. This track actually got destroyed, and it was ran in the ASA late model series.
Ripped the ASA too.
Yeah, that's right.
Side note about the drag strip, iRacing should add drag racing. Don't at me.
I mean, heck, I think they scanned the Sonoma drag strip, so I'm all in for that. And you know, you got Lucas Oil as well, so
that'd be pretty cool. I think if they could scan some funny cars or the top fuel cars that NHRA has, that'd be pretty cool if they did that.
Right.
Maybe sometime in the future we'll see that, but for now, we just have the typical racing, I guess, that we're all accustomed to seeing. Yeah, this track located in Lakeland, Florida, just near Tampa, so in a pretty populated area, I guess, even though I guess that wasn't enough to save it from demolition. But other race analysis here on the bottom left of your screen, roughly 0.6 of a mile or 3/5 of a mile here. Again, in Lakeland, Florida. Elevation about 139 feet. Florida is a very flat state. Time of the day looks like it's about afternoon to an evening setting here. Pit road speed 35 miles per hour. I don't know if we're going to have any green flag pit stops. Probably only if it goes green all the way, but that will remain to be seen. 2 tire sets for these drivers to think about and plan their race around, and we'll see if they end up using them all.
Also see weather down here in the bottom right. Temperature 74 out. Ambient wise, track temp 79. Wind is fluctuating between, looks like 5 miles per hour, 3 miles per hour, so not a strong gust. And of course, small gusts shouldn't really affect as much on a short track as it were on a bigger 1.5 mile oval. And looks like partly cloudy skies here on this sunset night.
Yeah, this would be a pretty picturesque night if this track still existed, but thankfully it lives on here on the iRacing sim. So just a couple seconds, I guess, left here before we get ourselves going. Some last minute things people are getting together here in terms of their race. But again, yeah, 25 people here tonight. We've had our first DNQs ever in the Super Late Model Series. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to do predictions at a track like this and, at Talladega where we just spent the last handful of days. Who do you think is going to come out on top here tonight?
I think after what we saw from that 112 of Blaze Brinkley, that 112 seems as though he might be the strongest car out of everybody, but he was getting caught up there with Noah Allison, so I'm sort of second-guessing my opinion. I think it might be the 12 of Hunter Johnson or maybe Blaze Brinkley, but if I were to go with a gut feeling, that's for that 112.
Well, I'm going to go with Johnson, but I'm not going to tell you which Johnson.
Good riddance.
Yep, I just finagled myself into 2 picks instead of 1, but you're not going to know which one I really meant. But we're here, we'll grid up here. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the second Florida Showdown here for the iSCAR Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Series here at USA International Speedway in Lakeland, Florida. We're getting ready here to grid up for our main event here tonight. And leading us off for row number 1, Ethan Johnson in the 51, who won heat number 1, and Jacob Hefner, the heat 2 winner.
Row number 2 going to consist of Blaze Brinkley in that 112. Right alongside of him, the man across the pond, Harry Grindle.
Row 3, Christopher Weil in the 41, and Noah Allison in the 24, second place in heats 2 and 3, respectively.
Hunter Johnson in that number 12 looks like did not have a good Irwindale show out after wrecking with Blaze Brinkley. Kevin White Jr. in that number 13, starting inside the top 10.
And rounding out that top 10, last week's winner Eric Keir in the 28, and Michael Rosero in the 23. Rest of the order will be shown on the bottom of your screen. Pick your favorite driver and hope they do pretty good or maybe even win this race tonight. I think with how close everyone was in practice to what we've just seen, I think there's quite a few different people here tonight that can easily take home the checkered flag. But of course, that's why you watch the race, to figure out who it might be.
Yep, that is right. Some notable names who are going to be starting outside of this area. All these drivers right here displayed on your screen from the LCQ. Mr. Tajman in that number 49, last car in from that last LCQ. Everybody's gridded up, so all 25 drivers will log at least 1 lap, or hopefully if they can make it through green with this 7/8 mile racetrack. and 100 laps to be logged here for tonight. So sit back, enjoy the action as we spark off round number 2 out of 10 for this iSCAR Super Late Model season.
And I believe this is one of the top 3 or 5 biggest fields you've ever had for the Super Late Model Tour. The biggest you've ever had was Season 1 at Bristol, which had, I believe, 33. So a pretty decent-sized field here for tonight's race. Hopefully that is not a negative thing, and it can be more of a positive, but that remains to be seen as well. We've got quite a few competitive cars, and we'll see how they all mesh together here in tonight's race.
There's that number 51, Ethan Johnson, running himself on top. First ever start, and he's going to be running himself on the top. And right behind, a few cars back of him, points leader, that number 28 of Eric Heater. All the way riled back in 9th.
Yeah, not too bad of a starting spot. I'm sure he'd rather start higher than he is, but you know, with a 25 car field, 9th is not that shabby. But, you know, Heater wasn't really in line to win the race last week. Had, you know, a bit of a luck on his side after the contact between Brinkley and Hunter Johnson sent the two of them around. But we'll see if Heater can keep up the momentum he got from that win and see if he can hold on to the points lead here after tonight.
Just going through some more drivers. Of course, Harry, starting P4, had one win last season at Southern National Motorsports Park. We'll see if he can pull it off here tonight as the field works themselves into 3 and 4. Glad you could tune us in here for tonight's Max Speed TV event as drivers get themselves situated for 100 laps of racing. Ethan Johnson, that number 51, will start himself at the top. And here they go. Pace car scoots itself down on in. Johnson, Hefner, Brinkley, top 3. Green flag is out. We're up and away here for 100 laps.
And an even start there between Johnson and Hefner into turn 1. But it looks like the 51 will easily clear, and the 1 will slot himself into line in between the two Johnsons, with Hunter still right behind in 3rd. Looks like the top 6 or so are single file. First side-by-side battle right now between the 12 of Johnson and the 13 of Kevin White.
Oh, a bit of contact there with like the Rosero and Heater as they work themselves into 1. But up front, Ethan Johnson leading over that number 1 of Hefner. Hefner's going to try to himself at the bottom side of the racetrack. Can't do it as looks like Grindle. Same maneuver there for those top 2, but looks like lost a bit more time. Now Allison, that number 24, is going to gun himself to the low side. Battle for the top 5. Battle within this top 5 as 24 works himself down low.
Solid move there for Allison to turn 1. Christopher Weil smacks the wall out of turn 2, and that's going to cost him, looks like 2-3 spots here with Heater and Rosero, so hopefully that's not too much of a detriment to his race. Up front, looks like the 24 of Allison will clear Grindle for that 4th spot, and Hunter Johnson now peeking underneath that 70 as well.
Hunter looks like a bit flat off the corner. Harry might get the run coming in here into turn number 3, but up front, top 3 all nose to tail. Not all these drivers inside this top 3, less than 5 starts on their resume as our first caution is out. Around goes, looks like Miller in the 95 off of turn number 4. Brings out the first caution of the night. Seems as though that 95 is undamaged, but unfortunate for him, a loss of track position is going to rally him back to the tail end of the field.
And we'll get a look and see what brings out caution number 1. Battling here with Joe Burgeon, 83. Looks like he takes a peek to the bottom here of that 83. Looks like a bit of contact, and out of turn 4, looks like he just lost it there, but may have had some help from that blue and black car.
Yeah, just tagged the apron just a bit, and car got upset, and that was the 90 of Malachi Drake.
Yeah, I think Miller was trying to hold on to it, but the 90 unfortunately finished him off there and sent the 95 around. So that will regrid here after a little 5-lap sprint to start off the night.
Yeah, I expected a bit more contact because the way they were lining up into the corner seems as though everybody was just going to stack up, but luckily everybody hit their braking marks at the right time, and they kept themselves in line. So a single car spin by the number 95, and he'll actually work himself down on the pit road with, looks like going to be using one of his 2 sets already. So for Miller, oh boy. Oh, it looks like Alec Daffin, he too is going to hit pit road and joined in by some few more drivers.
I would imagine that Weil might just be down there for damage repair, and rather than taking a set of tires after hitting the wall on lap 3. So it looks like 4 or 5 cars are going to end up on pit road. But if I'm that 95 and Miller, I don't know if I would have used a tire set within lap number 5, because now you're going to have only one set over the remaining 93 laps here tonight.
Yeah, I think one set to strategize yourself with 100 laps is going to be very, very hard. So Miller's probably going to have to lay back for these first 60 so laps. And hopefully catch cautions at the right time. So Miller's going to be in a bad place here for the first half of tonight's race. So we'll have to see on how he'll do. But those drivers who hit pit road are all outside this top 20. Patterson, Daffin, Weil, Berge, and Miller all in. Up front, though, Ethan Johnson, Jacob Hefner, Blaze Brinkley. Seems as though all short track type drivers, no surprise, are leading this field coming to the green.
Yeah, and they were all pretty dominant in their heat races as well, so no surprise to see that they've continued that up in the main event. The 24 of Noah Allison, though, he's looked pretty good tonight as well. Grindel's had a pretty good night already and is, again, a past Super Late Model winner. So, again, quite a few competitive cars, but I think it's going to take quite the charge to dethrone these top 3.
Yep, that is right. We're going to have to see how these next 90 laps will play out to this top 3 favor. In the meantime of that, green flag will drop. That number 51 of Johnson will lead the field to the restart. And 2x2 action as Noah Allison tries to peek himself to the high side. 3 wide in the background, working the 1. And Johnson's going to be able to clear that number 1 of Hefner.
Yeah, the 1 didn't get the best of restarts, but still files himself into that second spot. Allison trying to make the high side work with Brinkley, but that's not going to work. And that in turn will allow the 12 of Hunter Johnson to overtake him for that 4th spot. He will clear into turn 1 as Grindel gets a tap there from here in the middle of the turn.
A lot of taps. Looks like the whole field accordioned off of that tap from Hunter Johnson. And luckily for that, nobody runs over each other as they work themselves in the 3. Kevin White Jr. in that number 13 fouls in line in front of the 777 of Garrett Hess. So Kevin White still outside of this top 10 for right now, trying to look himself around the 21 of Poindexter. But up front, battle for the lead. Here comes Hefner.
Yeah, Hefner definitely there, but it's going to take... I mean, we just talked about taking quite a charge to dethrone these top 3. It's going to take probably an even bigger charge for one of those top 3 to dethrone Ethan Johnson himself. With, of course, most short tracks being low-line dependent, as long as that 51 hugs the bottom, it's going to be pretty difficult to get by him for that lead spot.
Yep, that is right. It looks like a bit of a scramble here. There's a bit of a gap between Sertaj Mon and Garrett Hess. They keep themselves forward as Grindel slips off of 4. No opportunity for that number 28 of Eric Heater to make something off of it. Near contact there with a 12 and 24. Noah Allison and Hunter Johnson racing each other close.
Yeah, 24 definitely wants that spot back and letting Hunter know he's there. But out of turn 4, that 51 continues to pace the field as Allison with a big moment there out of turn 4. And we'll see if that 70 can capitalize on it.
Oh, closes the gap. Looks like he tagged the apron too. And here comes Heater to the low side. So maybe side by side. Never minded that. Grindel's going to cut off Heater in the middle of the back straightaway. And he'll retain that spot for right now. But might have overshot the corner doing it.
Yeah, the 23 of Rosero almost ended up hitting that wall that juts outward with the contact there with Heater, but thankfully that did not happen. That could have been pretty bad if it did. Top 4 starting to pull away just a little bit after the moment that Allison had a few laps prior, as Hefner gets a little bit of a bad exit there, and that's going to allow Brinkley to close the gap a bit on him.
Nice racing throughout this whole line of cars. They're playing each other nice, but I don't expect that to be stable for long as... Yep, it wasn't for long.
And the 151 goes around. Thankfully, everyone's going to miss him, and Kyler Wynn almost made me jinx right there, but this will be caution number 2 here on lap 17 and 18. So we're going to look and see what brought out caution number 2. And it looks like there may have been some contact between himself and Carson Poindexter. We shall see.
Oh, stack up.
Accordion.
Yeah, and that's
and Carson got him again.
that's a mass sitting duck, as Kyle Petty would say.
Oh,
My
Kyler,
goodness.
man. That's as close as you can get to not hitting someone. I think somebody may have hit the outside wall trying to get around that 151. Yeah, he'd slow up to not hit Rosero, and then Carson couldn't react in time.
Carson
I think somebody
actually.
hit the wall.
Oh my
And
goodness.
Dodge there. Yeah, a lot of close calls there, but thankfully. And we got a couple more people down on pit road. I think that's Miller down there already. You don't want to use both of your tire sets already after just 19 laps. Looks like Yost, Burgee, Aaron Brown, and I are the other three that will join him. 10-second stop for Miller. So, I mean, I don't know if he just took his other tire set or if he took two. But you don't want to leave yourself with 81 laps remaining with, only 2 or no tires left. And that might be an extended stay for that. I think that's Sartaj.
Yeah, it looks like Sartaj did tow off the racetrack, so that will be our first DNF of the night. Fortunate for him.
More people. Yeah, so he was probably the car that slapped the wall when the 151 went around. Got 2 more people here on pit road. Kyler Wynn and Max Urich. Those could be either fuel top-offs or a tire set.
Here's Ethan Johnson, Ethan Harrison, Hunter Johnson. It's so many Ethans, so many Johnsons, so many similar names.
Gets a bit confusing.
Right.
Yeah, with Ethan Johnson now running tonight's race, I believe this is now the 4th different person with the last name of Johnson to run a race here in iSCAR this winter season. So it gets a bit confusing, but that stuff happens.
Yeah, so we got Ethan Johnson now, Hunter Johnson, Austin Johnson, and Justin Johnson, who's not in here for tonight, unfortunately.
There will be a quiz at the end of the race.
Oh, no. Get out of here.
Fail!
I'm failing right now. I've called Ethan Johnson Ethan Harrison, and he's not even a Johnson, as the pace car scoots itself on a pit road. Up front. Green flag.
Green, green, green.
Wow.
Good start there for the 51. Rosero quickly files himself into line on the bottom there into turn 1. Johnson cannot clear aside Brinkley, and you think he will be able to now at turn 2, and he'll be able to protect that spot from Noah Allison.
Bit of a scare there by that number 12 of Johnson. He tried to work himself to the underside of Brinkley, but looks like no. Oh, Grindle goes around! What a save!
Saved it.
There's
And
a
Rosero hopefully, and the 3 wide the middle of the turn as Wild goes way up the hill, but near disaster for both Rosero and Grindle, but that's going to cost both of them some on-track position.
Yeah, now to the low side
Man.
comes. Oh!
Uh-oh! And they're gonna... save it! Nice job.
And there are 4 wide working around the 777. They're still trying to get into line as Henry Tabor comes down on the 151 of Aaron Brown. They're all over each other.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3 near wrecks there, further towards the back. But up front, the top 5 looks like they're pulling away just a bit there from Heater as Ethan Johnson continues to pace this field. Here comes Wild trying to make a move on Dominic Howe, and that'll be easy peasy for him as Grindle retakes the spot from Malachi Drake.
Grindle got really sideways in the center of 1 and 2, slipped up, nearly ran into Aaron Brown, but up front, top 5, still trying to work themselves forward. Ethan Johnson in that number 51, holding his car strong for right now, but that one of Hefner, he's there. I mean, even though it's a couple car lengths between those top 2, they've been fast for these first 26 laps, as well as Brinkley, but now Hunter Johnson, basically the only mover of this whole entire event. He's now worked himself into 4th from, looks like 7th. But he's getting a mirror full of number 24 of Noah Allison. Brinkley into the outside wall. Johnson will finally notice the low side.
Yeah, this is the opportunity that Hunter's been waiting for all race. One of these top 2 to slip up. And here's the chance as Brinkley's going to hit the wall again out of turn 4. and the 12 will try to get that spot, but Brinkley is trying to pinch that 12 down, and for right now will successfully hold on to that spot.
Great move by that 112 of Brinkley to pinch down the 12 just enough. And of course, you don't want to make contact 2 weeks in a row for that number 112.
Yeah, I don't think Brinkley's going to let Hunter by that easily, especially after what happened last week at Irwindale. I think you could argue that Hefner is maybe even a better car right now than the 51 of Johnson, but with the way that, this track and a lot of other short tracks are, it's just so hard to pass people unless they make a minor mistake that, there have been plenty of cases here in iSCAR and in real life where, the car that may not be the best one out on the racetrack ends up winning because the guy that's the best car just can't get there at all.
Yep, that is right, and in this case, Brinkley is holding off Hunter Johnson well enough to retain 3rd spot. But there's still a lot of laps to go, and now reaching less than 70 at the wire. And for Ethan Johnson, that number 51 picked up the heat win as Brinkley tags the outside wall again. Here comes Johnson.
Another move here by the 12 on the 112. Can he make it stick this time? But Brinkley successfully pinches once again, and he will clear for 3rd again.
Yeah, it looks like Johnson tagged the apron as well into turn number 4, and look at Allison, that number 24. He is not letting go of that number 12. And Hunter's doing a lot of multitasking right now, trying to fend out that number 24 of Allison as well to get by Brinkley. So 12 is using up a lot of tire as of right now, but luckily for him, he's retained 4th spot.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hunter hitting the apron trying to pass Brinkley. I think that's what the 112 actually wants him to do, because of course hitting the apron is not conducive to passing it all. So by pinching as much as he is, he's basically taking away all of the actual track that can realistically be used to make a pass. And that's how, even though he's been hitting the wall, hasn't been able to hold on to that spot.
Top 2 slowly pulling themselves away, and for that one of Jacob Hefner, he's slowly closing the gap between himself and the leader. We'll see what Ethan Johnson could do to fend out for right now, but up front, and look at this 4-car train as now Noah Allison, it looks like Eric Heater also in this pack as well, and here comes the 21, Carson Poindexter, all in as well.
Yeah, this is for the best battle on the track right now between the 12 and the 112 and 24, and looks like Miller may have scraped the wall there out of 2, as well makes a pass on Mazzero, and Kevin White makes a move there on Dominic Howe.
Oh, looks like, man, Johnson lost a lot of time that last lap, and now the gap opens up to about 3 car lengths. It's him and Brinkley, so Johnson's going to have to use a bit more tire to get up to the rear end of that 112. If they catch a caution now, I think they'll probably hit pit road for their first set.
Well, I think Hunter's tires might be starting to fade already because of the amount.
There's the caution I was talking about.
And there you go. Speak of the devil. That's the 3rd caution of the day. Looks like Kevin White Jr. in some trouble out of turn 4. And watch out, leaders.
Oh, that car's crabbing. So, yeah, that's probably a DNF right there.
That was a pretty hard hit then, whatever he ran into. We'll get another look here. Looks like this is into turn 3. Dominic Howe and Harry Grindle battling with him.
Ooh.
And looks like he got some help. And
Alec Daffin.
That'll do it. And that will be significant damage for the 13 and the 18. So hopefully that's not the end of the night for either of them, but based off the way that car was just driving, I think he might be done for here.
Yeah, it seems as though Kevin White was just trying to come down as pit roads open this time by. Here comes the whole entire field on in, no surprise.
Looks like Nick Miller in the 95 is going to stay out here for the restart. I think he's the only car in the entire field that will not pit, which means that the 51 of Ethan Johnson will not be the control car. However, with Miller being on older tires, it's entirely possible that the 51 could still clear Hefner into turn 1, but we'll have to see how good of a restart the 95 gets.
Johnson off first, but Hefner got a way faster pit stop than him, so might have been a bit optional, just enough to get for that top spot. And you see the 95 of Nick Miller working himself off of 4 on the left side of your screen. He now,
he might lap some people here.
yeah, looks like gonna lap 13.
That's 13 in the 18.
Oh, maybe Bracero might have gotten lapped, so.
Ooh, hopefully he made it off in time, and I don't think he did. Ouch.
But if you're in Miller's shoes, that's what you have to do. You gotta stay yourself out because you used that first set a bit earlier than you wanted to. So around goes the 95, and it's gonna have to strategize from, looks like 61 laps to go now on how he's gonna use up this third set. And I expected drivers to pit halfway, not on lap number 40, but looks like they're gonna hit pit road now rather than hitting pit road past the halfway point. You typically see a lot of drivers do that, but of course with now 2 sets.
If this goes green all the way, I think we could potentially see some green flag stops, but I think if it goes here, you could also see some people try to stretch it all the way. But like what I mentioned before, with Miller staying out, that's going to remove the control car for Ethan Johnson on the restart. So again, if Miller elects the low side for the restart, that's going to put Johnson on the high side. So if Miller spins, then we can easily get the lead back. But if Miller elects the high side, I believe that's going to also help Johnson. So I think the 51 will still get a pretty good jump on the start, but it'll be a matter of whether Brinkley or Hefner gets potentially held up by Miller.
All right, one more lap to go. So it looks like Miller's going to elect the high side. Of course.
So it looks like that will be Brinkley. That'll be behind him.
It's going to be it's going to be tough for that number 1 of Hefner to pass that number 51. You can't pass. I mean, for the 51 of Ethan Johnson's case, can't pass the leader before start-finish line since the leader is going to elect the high side. So here we go. iSCAR is going to scoot itself onto pit road, and for the 95 of Miller, had to stay himself out because of the situation he is in. Work himself and take the green flag up and away we go, but a great restart by that number 51 is going to rally himself in second and is already a wreck in the back.
Patterson goes through the grass. Looks like we're going to stay green, and the 51 easily gets by Miller. But look at with Miller electing the high side, that's allowed Brinkley now to get in front of Hefner. So now Hefner and the 1 will be back to third as Miller continues to be passed here, and they're briefly 3 wide on a turn forward, and a hard hit for Noah Allison into the outside wall.
Oh!
As he manages to somehow flip his car over, gets run into by Rosero. Tabor hits the inside wall, and one of the best cars of the night upside down here in the front stretch.
That was a very late flip. That was really weird.
That was a glitch flip.
Yeah.
That car should not have flipped that way.
Either way, tough luck for that number 24.
It started further up front, though.
Yeah, Dominic Howe got loose off the corner and flipped the 24 and swoop.
Yeah, that's a odd flip. And Rosero just taps that 24. There's the Tabor and the 16 in the inside wall. Yeah, Dominic got loose and just hooks the 24 right around. And that might be the end of the night for Noah Allison, who was having a top 5 run earlier in the race. I'm not sure what happened to Patterson off the restart either, but it looks like his car might be alright. And looks like Miller's going to elect to take his tire set here, so I think this might leave him without one for the remainder of the race.
Yeah. Yeah, with everybody else on, looks like one more set. No, looks like, I just noticed that's not his pit stall, so he probably is going to move himself to the rear and get out of harm's way.
Maybe.
Why he didn't do that the previous caution, I don't know, but this will move Johnson back up front, but now Blaze Brinkley, and that 112 will be in second spot this time, so because of that restart shuffle by Miller starting himself up top, Blaze got the edge in the turn number 1 over Hefner, and Hefner drops himself back into second, so, I mean into third for right now, and here comes the 28 of Heater. He's working himself into the mix as well.
Well, with Johnson now the control car for the restart once again, I think that with the 51 having a better of course, having the advantage on the bottom. I think that could allow Hefner to potentially follow that 51 to turn 1 and maybe get that spot back from Brinkley. But that 112 has been so good tonight, along with the 2 cars that he's in front of and behind. You know, I think the top 3 are obviously a cut above the remainder of the field so far, but I think any of those 3 still has an almost equal chance of taking the win tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I think once we progress with, I'd say, 25 laps to go, that's when we'll start to see more aggressive racing pick up. And for all these drivers inside this top 3, their talents start to shine and how they could fend or attack the other drivers out on the racetrack. But for Eric Heater and that number 28, though, 3 drivers right in front of him, except for Brinkley, didn't make a start at Irwindale. So at 28, all he has to do is just hold off... looks like the 41, Christopher Weil, who's riled back all the way in 7th position for right now. 20th Heater, if he holds his top 5 over the 41, it seems as though he's going to retain that points lead.
Yeah, Heater doing a good job of that as he's running up in the top 5 after his win last week. So as things run right now, he should walk out of here retaining it, as looks like Daffin's going to make his way back out on the racetrack, but he's at least 5 laps down now. Looks like actually
only a
one
lap.
I thought he was on pit road for a while, but it looks like he's just making periodic repairs. But Kevin White, I believe, is now out of the race. So Rosero is still trapped a lap down because he made contact with Allison, so he's involved in the wreck. So the 23 is going to have to wait another caution to get that lap back.
All right, here we go. Johnson, Brinkley, Hefner, Heater, Johnson 2. Gonna lead the field to the green. Pace car scoots itself down to the pit road. I'll hit the throttle now. Looks like Brinkley got a good enough restart to stay to the high side of that 51. Work themselves in the 1. It looks like Brinkley will foul himself down. Second car in line, and Heater's coming up on the high side.
Yeah, Brinkley got a good enough start to fend off Hefner, who gets a bit squirrely there out of turn 2. Hefner and Heater side by side, but Heater makes some contact with the 1. That'll send him up the hill, and he'll drop a spot to Hunter Johnson and potentially Christopher Weil here into turn 1. And I think the 41's going to get that spot.
Oh, some more contact between the 28 and 41. The top 2 in the championship battle here for this top 5 spot. Heater trying to pinch down the 41 as much as he can, but looks like he's going to lose some time to the 41. Oh,
Carson! Hold on.
Heater got loose off the corner, and he tail whipped that 21. And Carson loses a lot of position.
Yeah, he's going to get passed, looks like on the outside by Grindle, but thankfully that 21 did not go around. Just past the halfway point here at USA, Ethan Johnson, still the dominant car of the night, has led all but about 2 or 3 laps as Nick Miller stayed out on a few cautions ago. And it's been quite a challenge to really pass for the most part. A lot of the passes I've seen are people just getting loose or hitting the wall. So I think if Johnson's going to get past for this win, I think it could potentially be in the form of a bump and run from Brinkley, but we'll see.
This top 4 are basically just about short track kings, of course. Oh, looks like a caution coming out, and around goes Kyler Wynn.
And the 084 in some trouble here in turns 1 and 2.
Now, this is an interesting caution. The time it comes out is after the halfway point. Do you want to come out and take your final set? Or do you want to try to jump the other drivers who will hit pit road this time by?
I love how we said Noah Allison was going to be done for the night after that caution, but he's still running like in pace with everyone else.
Beautiful.
I guess the damage gods gave Noah Allison a bit of a gift there, but it looks like he took that gift and ended up punting the 084 into turn 1, so that'll probably be an EOL penalty for that 24 and a tire set used by the 084.
Seems as though nobody will hit pit road. I think that run was too short to maybe gamble for your second set. I think if we see a caution, the next caution after this, we'll definitely see some drivers on the pit road.
I think we can maybe see a couple of people take a gamble and stay out if another caution comes out, but it's one of those things where tires matter so much on a track like this, or even if somebody stays out like Miller did, they'll be quickly swallowed up by the cars on fresher tires, and the 23 of Rosero this time will be the lucky dog since he was not involved in this wreck.
Yep, and... Yep, there's Rosero as Daffin still taking some damage repair after that big hit in 4. So he'll work himself off.
Down.
Yeah, still only one lap down, and of course he's the only car 1 lap down as well, so...
Yeah, with Rosero getting that free pass, if Daffin can just continue to do that on the next caution, he will get the lucky dog. And obviously that car is pretty damaged and still crabbing a bit, but if we have some more wrecks and maybe take some people out of the race, that could be some free points for the 18 to pick up just by staying out.
Just have to see, though, and restarts are getting a bit more hectic because you saw there off that green, Blaze Brinkley was to the high side of Johnson before in a 1, so Brinkley seems as though he could power over the high side of that number 51 as long as he nails down the restart. We'll just have to see on how this next restart will go because for Blaze Brinkley in that 112, trying to get some redemption. Pick up a win here tonight, his 2nd of the season.
Yeah, of course, Brinkley dominated the Xfinity race we ran at Martinsville to kick off the 2021 part of the Nice Design series. So we know he's dominant, and that was in his first ever race. So he was dominant in the late model race as well. So almost went 2 for 2 before the contact with Hunter. And only has 1 car to get by right now and still has 42 laps to do it.
How will it go for that number 51 of Johnson? Not really sure, but we'll get the green this time by on lap number 60. Working off, I think, our 3rd caution of the night. Been a relatively clean race so far. No, our 5th caution of the night. Been relatively standard. Reason I say standard is I didn't realize how many cautions we had, but that's pretty standard for short tracks. Not standard for iSCARs, though. I'd expect more cautions, especially how these cars are set up. But in the meantime of that, top 3 getting themselves set up is Johnson, Brinkley, Hefner, and Johnson again. And we'll see what Wild could do inside this top 5.
And Johnson hits the throttle. We're back underway here with 41 laps to go. So we're in the second half of the race now as Heater tries to make a move on Johnson, but I think he's going to lose a spot or 2 to Wild being stuck on that high side.
Never mind that. He powered to the high side of that number 12. 3 wide into the corner as Aaron Brown tries to speak into the mix. Looks like it won't work, but Heater doing a nice job of the outside lane. He'll work into 4th, maybe off the 4th corner, but up front, got to scramble for this top spot. Brinkley is working around that 51 of Johnson, but Hefner's not letting go as still side by side for this 4th spot.
Yeah, Johnson and Heater having a great battle here, but as they do that, and Wild gets into the back of the 28 and sends him around, and that will be another caution here, and that might be an EOL for Christopher as well. But as they were starting to battle, those top 3 were starting to pull away, but that gap will now be greatly diminished.
Yeah, yikes, that's not what you want to do, but the top 2 in championship standings collide into 3 and 4. Into 1 and 2. We'll get another replay of it. Or it was 3 and 4, and Wild just washed up the corner and got into the corner. That number 28 sent him around, and Heater gonna have to work himself all the way from 21st. When in potential he was inside the top 5, and as well for the 41 of Christopher Wild. Looks like Wild will hit pit road,
and with that caution, Alec Daffin in the 18 will be the free pass. So even though his car is, of course, not driving the way Super Late models should drive, he will be back on the lead lap.
How about this run by Yerk in that number 6 machine? He's now inside this top 10.
Yeah, and he was one of those cars that had to make his way through the LCQ and was the last car to advance from the first LCQ. But here he is up now in this top 10. Seth Hood in the 105, another one that advanced from the LCQ, a common driver from last season coming back this season, and we'll see if he can maybe score a win finally this season.
Malachi Drake in that number 90 has been fairly, has been on a dry spout lately. Last win at Dega in the 87 cars. Has yet to return to victory lane, but now outside of this top 10. Was your Truck Series champion as well, so. Still a lot of time for anything to happen. And I think the next caution, if we get a good enough green flag stint, I think we might see some drivers on the pit road.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think at this stage of the race, it's going to be tough to make that call, because if we just have a string of cautions that go all the way to the end, if you're one of those end up coming down the pit road, you may not be left with very much time at all to get those spots back. But if we, if we have only what just happened to Hunter?
That seems like a hardware issue.
Okay, looks like he's got it going now, but
I don't know if there's any damage on his machine. I think Aaron Brown.
That was weird.
Hit him.
He just jerked right to the left out of nowhere. That was really weird.
Yeah, like, you saw the wheel just lock left, so that was definitely some sort of hardware issue. Hunter gets himself through the field and looks like he'll get to keep his spot, but at the expense of a bit of damage.
Yeah, that's one of the more interesting things that's happened here this race. Caution lights are off. Looks like Daffodil will make his way off the pit road, getting a little bit more damage repair on his car. Johnson, Brinkley, Hefner, the other Johnson, and Grindle, your top 5 here for the restart with 34 laps to go.
Coming down to closing time. Now halfway through this event. It's now or never for all these drivers to make something of it. And for Ethan Johnson, Blaze Brinkley, Jacob Hefner, trying to log in their first win of the Super Late Model Tour. Pace car scoots himself on in. All in the hands at 51. He'll hit the throttle now. Looks like Hefner trying to pinch up that 112 of Blaze Brinkley.
Couldn't quite get there, though, and that 112 will clear for P2 once again. Aaron Brown is a run here on Hunter Johnson. That's for P4. And I think that 151's going to have a decent chance to pick up the spot into turn 3, but that 12 is doing a pretty good job of keeping that spot up high. 3 wide in the middle of turn 3. That's going to be close out of 4. And contact between Rosero and Miller, but it looks like they keep it going.
Looks like Aaron Brown is going to take the 4th spot over that number 12 of Johnson. Allison nails the high side barrier. Even though he flipped his car earlier, he's somehow in this top 10 as Harry overshoots the corner, moved the 24 into 6th.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time a car that was upside down. Oh, speaking of upside down, Urich just about goes there. And a big wreck here on the front stretch involving Urich, Burgee, looks like Poindexter's in there. Weil and Heater had some trouble as well. And that 6 came pretty close to going on his roof. But thankfully stays on all 4s. But we'll get another look and see what brought out this big wreck here out of turn 4.
Yikes, yeah, some heavy racing through. It seems as though the 90 of Malachi washed up the corner. And the 21.
Oh.
Wiles in it. Heater gets a bit of damage. Urich seems as though he's okay for now. I don't think the engine's smoking.
It's a lot of damage to the 21. He's going to have hard to do with Daffodil and go down for damage repair every restart. Right here, it gets clobbered twice by Burgee and Poindexter.
Miller and Rosero.
Miller scrapes the inside wall, getting around it. And that's by far the biggest wreck so far of the night.
Yeah, that involved at least 7 contenders. And they're going to hit pit road, so...
Grindle's in as well. And looks like maybe 1 or 2 others that weren't in the wreck also down on pit road.
Yeah, I think now is the time to use your second set, but for these top 3, it seems as though they don't want to. They're too scared to work themselves down onto pit road and make something of it. And I find it a bit interesting.
Apparently Max Urich may have just hit the pit barrels.
Uh-oh.
Reports in the chat that the 6 may have struck one of them. I don't know if they're necessarily scared to pit, but I think it might be a deal where at this stage of the race, we were just talking about the previous start. We've had a bit of a string of cautions here over the last 15 to 20 laps. If they come down for tires now, and that all those cautions keep coming out, not only are they going to have almost no time to get back up there, but they also end up getting caught up in the wrecks that result in those cautions. So I think at this point, even though they haven't pit all race, I think they might be better off just staying out now.
This is the number I was looking at.
Or not pit in a while, at least.
Right, but this is a number that I'm interested in looking about. Seems as though everybody outside of this top 10 have hit pit road, so is there going to be enough time for, looks like, 27 laps to go for all these drivers on fresher sets to work themselves through the field? We'll just have to find out on how the 70, the 151, the 90, and the 28 will work themselves through the field. So, I mean, there's a lot of laps logged under these top 7, or top 6. Top 6's tires, so I'm just curious on how it's going to turn out for Johnson, Brinkley, Hefner, and Hunter.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, even though their tires are much older than the ones on the cars behind them, it's one of those deals where it's already inherently difficult to pass at a track like this. So even on those older tires, I think those top 3 are more than capable of staying out long enough to fend off those cars that have the fresher tires on them.
All right, here we go. So it's Ethan, Blaze, Jacob, Hunter, Noah. I'll have to see on how they could situate the restart, and look how much the field is cut up after that big wreck on the front straightaway. Here we go. iSCAR is in. Johnson hits the throttle now.
Green flag.
Seems as though the top 3 is going to easily file themselves into line as Harry gets a bad restart. Look at
Hunter. Oh, and Hunter boots Hefner up the racetrack, and that's going to allow the 12 to make a move here for that 3rd spot. And it looks like into turn 3 he's going to get it, but I don't think Hefner might be too happy with that 12, and it looks like he's going to return the favor here in the middle of the turn and try to get that spot right back.
Oh, and Hefner goes around!
Hefner! And around they all go.
Here's on his roof.
Either upside down and barrel rolls into the turn 1, and up he goes. And Jacob Hefner, one of the best cars all night, is junked, as well as points leader Heater. And that has really flipped things upside down. And that moves Noah Allison, who flipped earlier, up into 3rd.
Wow. I'm not sure if that was like retaliatory or something like that, but Hefner really chased Hunter down the racetrack. I'm not really sure what transpired that, but we'll get a replay off the restart. Hunter goes to the low side of the 1. Oh, he booted him up the track, but not intentionally. The 24 of Noah actually shoved the 12 into the 1.
And you'll see Hefner, who gives to give Hunter a bit of a boot there in the middle of the turn. And I think Hunter may have lost it, or he got loose maybe, and just hooks the 1. And then watch Heater in the 28 hits the wall and goes barrel rolling there into turn 1, up into the fence, and gets back on all 4s, but significant damage for sure for our points leader. It looks like he may have just lost it trying to slow down. And look at Wild thread the needle through that.
Yeah, it looks like
did the 41 get through that unscathed? I think he might have.
Looks like Hunter, he might have gotten either tied off the corner. Oh man, that just took a lot of drivers there, but look at that. A lot of people hit pit road, and those drivers who...
Brinkley and Johnson do as well, so that's going to put Dominic Howe in the lead.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. When are you going to hit pit road to take on that second set? And it seems as though Johnson's going to lose the lead, unfortunately. As well as Brinkley's going to be all trapped in 13th place, so Howe will lead this field to the green, but he's on 34-lap old tires versus Aaron Brown's 8-lap old tires. We have a interesting top 5 now.
Yeah, except look at all the damage that Aaron Brown has. He just smacked the inside wall really hard in that wreck we just had. So Dominic Howe has really old tires. Aaron Brown has a lot of damage on his car. So, I mean, Malachi Drake in the 90 is in an interesting predicament here, where maybe he could get up there and maybe steal a win away. Christopher Weil made his way through that wreck, and he now finds himself in 5th. And with Heater just barrel rolling the way he did, at 41 now in a prime position to take this points lead away after tonight's race.
Heater, yeah, Weil seems as though he benefited off of all of that, so not sure who's 3rd in points. I think it's looks like it's Nick who's 3rd in points. So Nick is now in 8th place. He had slapped on his final set 17 laps ago with that first wave coming down in for that second for the second set. Joe Berge in the 83, he's next in line, then Yurik. So, a lot of drivers, Yurik's on pit road, unfortunately, so a lot of these drivers, except for Weil in that number 41, a lot of these top 5 drivers, seems as though we're caught up in that mix, and of course for that 28 of Eric Heater, unfortunate for him. But, in the meantime of that, this is going to be wild for that number 86, Dominic Howe. 36 lap older tires. How is he going to fend out this whole entire field?
Yeah, and with only 20 laps to go, if we keep having more cautions like this, is there enough time left for Ethan Johnson and Blaze Brinkley to maybe even get back up there after they've been so dominant all night?
I'm not sure. I think it's either you stay out or you come in, and we'll just have to find out on how their strategy will play to their favor. In the meantime of that, Dominic will hit the throttle. Green flag is out.
Green, green, green.
I think Hefner's still out there as well, so those dominant top 3 all still out on the racetrack, but they still have... Oh, and someone just got the boot into turn 1, and we've got cars all over the place, but I think they all keep it straight.
Oh!
Wall's
hard!
And Wall goes hard into the inside wall, and there's more trouble into turn 3, more contact, and the caution comes back out again, and there were people all over everywhere there.
And this will subtract another 5 laps from all those drivers who hit pit road, but we'll have to see there on what transpired. It seems as though... So the man who's 2nd in points now is in big trouble.
Yeah, both of them are now.
So, looks like Daffin just got squeezed, or Weil tried to come up. I'm not sure what he was doing there. He was obviously 3 wide, and Weil, I'm not sure if he was...
Oof.
Not really sure what to make off of that, and Berge making a bit of contact there. Heading into 3. Looks like with Seth Hood.
What an odd race this has become.
Yeah, I mean... Seems as though Dominic Howe had a good enough restart to maintain that top spot, but now... This moves Malachi Drake into 2nd and Harry into 3rd. So what in the world is this top 3? As Daffin, he was 1 lap down. He's now in 4th. And Noah Allison, he was on his roof. He's in 5th.
Yeah, and Ethan Johnson and Jacob Hefner, Blaze Brinkley, they're up to 8th, 9th, and 10th already. So all 3 of them are already back in the top 10. But again, are they going to have enough time to get themselves back up there to get back to the lead?
This top 5 is nuts. Howe is trying to... It's all in favor of Dominic Howe for right now. He's kept himself out of trouble, and of course, is now up front after staying himself out, and these cautions are just playing to his favor. Every caution is 5 less laps for all these drivers to catch him. Now the question is... Where are all the drivers who hit pit road earlier? Where are they shuffled out? Looks like Garrett Hess is now in 7th. Ethan Johnson in 8th. Hefner back in 9th. Brinkley in 10th. There's still a lot of time to go, and now it's starting to look like iSCAR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is the portion of the race in which what I expected, but. Was a nice stint while it lasted, I guess, but... I'll solve about it later. Either way, it's made for an interesting event because now Drake, Grindle, Daff, and Allison, all drivers, all of those 4 drivers have yet to win this season. For Dominic Howe, I don't think he's running up and away in victory lane because he's in a bad position with older tires. If we get at least 5 laps in green, he's going to get passed for the lead either by the 70 or the 90. Alright, and all those drivers right behind, they too trying to work around for track position. They're on the freshest tires. The man on the freshest set, Noah Allison in the 24. He's starting on the bottom. What can he do off the restart?
Only 13 to go, so we'll find out pretty soon what he can do. But can Hefner, Brinkley, and Ethan Johnson get back up there before this thing's over?
I'm not sure. Pace car is in. Green flag is out. Look at the restart that number 86 got.
And a bad start for Grindle, and that allows Drake to clear for that second spot. And look at Ethan Johnson try to work his way up through the field, and he's in a bunch of traffic here. I think he needs to get down to the bottom, but just has no room to. And he's still side by side in 3. Hess gives Rosero a bump, and Brinkley gets collected in it. And that'll bring the caution back out.
Oh my. This is all in favor of Dominic Howe. He had a nice restart yet again. I think staying out's the option now.
I don't think anyone's gonna pit anymore.
Oh nobody's gonna pit now. I think for Dominic Howe, it's his race to lose now because the leader is at such an advantage.
Dude, geez, there's cars everywhere in this mess, but I think everyone kept it going. But there's the contact with Johnson and Rosero, and Brinkley runs into that 23. But I think there were just too many cars going for too little real estate as Johnson tried to thread the needle to try to get ahead of these cars on older tires, and unfortunately ran into the 23 in the process.
As I said, this is Dominic Howe's race to lose. This is all in favor for this number 86. And that 90 did not go on the restart. He's also losing some time to the 70 of Grindle. But yeah, free pass to Carson, as he's now, I think, on the lead lap. But in the meantime of that, looks like this top 5 has been relatively unscathed. But for Ethan Johnson, that number 51, not sure if he's going to get an EOL off of that incident, because he did get squeezed.
Yeah, that remains to be seen here. Hefner up to 8th. Brinkley still in 10th despite the contact. Looks like Ethan Johnson for the time being shown in P6, but again, don't know. And you'll see all the laps. 71 laps led, but still finds himself back in 6th. So still 10 laps, but of course only about 8 of those max are going to be under green.
With Dominic starting on the high side, this is definitely going to jam up this 51. Johnson's going to try as much as he can to plow through with fresher tires, and I just don't know if there's enough time to really make something of it when these cautions keep flinging out like this. See 7 laps to go at the line. If Dominic doesn't get going off the restart, Malachi's going to be all over him. Also Grindle, too. And Dominic's been electing the high side, as I said. It's going to give the 90 a lesser opportunity to gun into 1, unless he wants to dive bomb it or something like that.
Yeah, and the risk with dive bombing, of course, if you end up completely turning the guy you're trying to pass, that could result in an EOL for yourself. Pace lights are off, so we're going to go green with just 7 laps remaining. Dominic Howe, Malachi Drake, Harry Grindle, Noah Allison, and Alec Daff in your top 5. The dominant car of the day, Ethan Johnson, right now in 6th. So will we end up in a situation where the first 2 weeks of the season does the dominant? Oh, and it
Oh,
like
looks like he got an EOL.
51. Oh boy. So it looks like for the first 2 weeks of the season, the dominant car of the race may not end up winning it.
That's unfortunate for him, but here we go for Dominic Howe and that number 86. This time he'll elect the bottom, so green flag is out. All in the hands of that number 70 of Grindle to maybe gun for that top spot. Noah Allison does not get going as they work into one, so looks like Harry gets second place. The question is, does he have enough time to gun for that lead?
They make their way down the backstretch. Contact there between Allison and Jacob Hefner, but Hefner will get that spot. Here comes Brinkley trying to force the issue now with Allison, and he will get that spot back as well. So Hefner now up into fourth, but is there enough time for him to get to Dominic Howe? And Allison into the outside wall, but we stay green.
Oh, they now got singled out, so all in the hands of this number 30. What can he do to pass this number 86? I think Harry's too damaged to really make something off of that number 70. We'll have 5 laps to do something and close that gap.
Hefner's got much fresher tires than the 3 cars in front of him, but you have to remember Hefner also has a lot of damage from earlier wrecks. He tries to make a move to the bottom of Malachi, and he gives him a tap there in the middle of the turn, and gives him another one. Now he goes into the wall, and more contact, but Hefner will take third place.
Yeah, but look at the gap between himself and Harry. It's just too little too late, but Harry's closed the gap between himself and Dominic. He's there.
Oh, contact with Miller, and around goes Daffin.
All right, man.
Oh, and almost upside down he goes. Rosero goes into the inside wall with Garrett Hess in the 777, and this will set us up for a green-white checkered finish.
That is not what Dominic needed. This is going to be a nightmare for him to hold off the 2 fastest cars.
And now he's got Hefner right behind him for the restart, too.
That's right. This is going to be a nightmare for this number 86. That caution coming out literally is probably going to kill him. Because you saw how fast Jacob and Blaze were plowing through this field.
And Ethan Johnson, despite the EOL, got up to 8th before that caution came out. And there's the contact up on 2 wheels. The 18 went. We'll get another look and see what brought that, or what caused the contact.
Oh, whoa.
That was some bizarre net code there. And Yost ends up running into Daffin. I don't know what in the world happened here. What the?
I've never seen that kind of net code.
That is really bad net code there. Pass up on 2 wheels as well. Looks like Burgee sideswipes. Or gets sideswiped there. Free pass will go to, looks like, I think Poindexter might be back on the lead lap now. Or 1 lap down. But yeah, that caution is definitely not what Dominic Howe wanted to see at all. Because now his buffer cars, the cars that were also on older tires than him, those cars are gone. So it's going to be Dominic and Harry Grindle on the front row, and Jacob Hefner on fresher tires is going to be right behind Dominic on the restart. The 86 is only going to have to hold them off for 2 laps, but that is still ample time for somebody on much fresher tires to get a run and maybe bump you out of the way.
No doubt about it. Dominic just has to hope he gets a good enough restart that the second car coming into 1 is not going to fling him up the racetrack.
I think what Dominic has to do is to somehow coordinate the restart with Harry to see if the 70 can try to file in right behind him, but that's going to be really tough with how much faster Hefner and Brinkley are. And with the EOL that Ethan Johnson got and the couple issues that Brinkley's run into, even though Hefner's been involved in a wreck himself, I guess he's had the least amount of problems out of those 3 people there, and now he's the top runner of those 3, so I think Hefner might be best positioned out of everyone now to win this race.
I'm not sure. I mean, it might depend on what line that Dominic chooses. He could choose up the high side and use Harry as like a pick to stall that inside line, so I think Dominic, he has to choose the high side in this scenario for him to win. Because if you use that 70 as a pick, you're going to slow down that inside line, and the 1 of Hefner is not going to be able to pass that 70 before the start-finish line, so see 1 to go. What line will Dominic choose? If he chooses the inside, I think it's going to be a bad deal for him because Hefner's going to be all over him.
Here we go. Green-white checkered number 1 out of up to 3. Dominic Howe, Harry Grindle, Jacob Hefner, Blaze Brinkley, and Malachi Drake. Your top 5 here for the restart. If we wreck before the white flag, we'll have another attempt at a green-white checkered. But if we make it to the white flag, all bets are off, and it's a race back to see who wins.
That's right. As long as we see that white flag, all goes, and green flag is out. Dominic got a better restart, and Harry's going to drop back. So all in the hands of Hefner and how he's going to close the gap between himself and the 86.
Yep, Hefner easily clears for second place. Looks like Brinkley's going to get a run on Harry as well for third. Harry's just trying to hold on, just like Dominic is. And for Dominic, he just wants this thing to go green at this point. But look at how much Hefner is closing that gap. White flag here at USA, and they all wreck hard. Everybody's collected. Ethan Johnson, the pole sitter, is in it. And only 4 cars remain here in this top pack. And out of 2, Dominic just has 2 more turns to hold off that one of Jacob Hefner. And for the final time, he makes it 3. Hefner sends it in, but it's not going to be enough. Out of turn 4, Dominic Howe stays on older tires and steals the win away at USA.
What a finish! And Dominic Howe played
Nice
the call
job.
right, stays himself out when needed, and he's the victor here tonight in the Super Late Model Series. What a win for him!
Great job there for Dominic, and heartbreak for Jacob Hefner, who was just short. And we'll have to get another look and see what happened there on that final lap, because they were wrecking all over the place coming to the white flag, and some of those cars were still sitting there when the leaders came to take the checkered flag.
For the 86, though, Dominic Howe, burn it down to the front straightaway. You deserved it. Playing the right strategy and winning here tonight. As Noah Allison's joined in alongside of him, Dominic Howe wins here tonight after a hectic 104 laps of racing. And we'll get you a replay, as Dewey said, off of that big wreck on the front straightaway. Cars flinging in left, right, up and down and center.
Yeah, I think they were almost 3 wide in the middle of the turn, but there you see, that big start by Dominic is what got him the win. He was able to get a big enough lead where Hefner just had to claw back on it versus trying to pass him. And then here out of 4, this contact with, I think, Miller and Drake, and literally everybody back here goes around. There's just cars flying all over the place. Johnson ends up riding it. Somebody went upside down back there. Burgee gets collected. And this is the last chance effort there by Hefner to try to get a run for that with that send, but just wasn't quite enough. And Dominic rounds out victorious here at USA.
Got a full results right in front of your screen. Congratulations to Dominic Howe. Jacob Hefner rounds himself out in second. Blaze Brinkley, Harry Grindle. Nice top 5 run by him. He might actually take the points lead. Seth Hood, top 5. Scott Yost in 6th place after that big wreck. He squeaked himself through inside this top 10. Josh Patterson, Aaron Brown, Christopher Weil. That number 41 looks like inside this top 10 after wrecking on the back straightaway. And Hunter Johnson rounds out in 10th place.
Nick Miller ends up 11th. Garrett Hess in 12th. Malachi Drake ends up 13th. Michael Rosero in 14th. Joe Burgee, last car that actually finished, in 15th. And then Henry Tabor, Alec Daffin, Carson Poindexter, Noah Allison, and the pole sitter and dominant car of the night, Ethan Johnson, ends up in 20th. And the last 5 cars out on the grid, Max Zurich, Eric Heater, Tyler Wynn, Kevin White Jr., and Sartaj Mon in the 49. The show is not over yet here at USA. We'll be right back here after some short messages with some post-race interviews. Congratulations once again to Dominic Howe in the 86. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Dale Earnhardt, the defending champion, a man who has won here at this racetrack. He has been absolutely second to none in 1987.
Dale Earnhardt is on his last lap. This will be his 24th career win, his 4th win of 1987 out of 6. Dale Earnhardt wins the first Union 400 in North Wilkesboro.
Everyone's wondering what can stop Dale Earnhardt. He's on a roll, 4 wins and 6 starts. I mean, is there anybody can handle you?
There may be a little more here underneath the sheet metal.
Well, I'm sure this afternoon we'll know a lot more, and we've got 500 miles to run. We'll see what happens.
Good luck today.
A magnificent 19th annual $500,000 Talladega 500 is won by Dawsonville, Georgia's Bill Elliott, and the siren is beginning to ring. You'll probably hear it in Dahlonega. Bill Elliott has won. Davey Allison second.
Elliott now getting a challenge from Tim Richmond, but he closes again right in behind Earnhardt, coming down off turn 4. And Earnhardt loses it, goes on the grass, comes back, and Elliott goes inside. And Earnhardt still got the lead. Incredible. Decent driving by Earnhardt. 7 laps to go. Earnhardt went on the grass.
Dale Earnhardt is reminding Mr. Elliott, you make one mess up like that, and I might get through.
When you come to North Wilkesboro on a short racetrack, you expect some fender to fender and even some paint trading going on out there. We've seen it already as Brett Bodine gave Jerry Cranmer a nudge in the rear end, and now we're seeing some great competition out there between Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott.
Thank you for tuning in post-race for the iSCAR Chuck Anderson Ford Super Late Model Tour. Congratulations to our winner, Dominic Howe, and that number 86 picking up win number 3 of the season here tonight at USA. We'll go ahead and drag him into the booth here just momentarily. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, Chuck Anderson Ford, for sponsoring this season, as well as Scott Yost through him, and Max Speed TV for letting us broadcast this event. And we'll go ahead and drag our winner into the booth here in just a moment. Dewey, what'd you think of tonight?
Well, it was a pretty decent start to the race, and then, as the race went on, it kind of devolved a bit into what we're more accustomed to seeing, I guess, when it comes to iSCAR short track racing. But even though it was a bit difficult to pass, there were still some really good battles out there tonight. That was a pretty entertaining race to watch, especially with guys like Hefner and Brinkley and Ethan Johnson out there. But man, Dominic Howe did everything right, and he ends up the race winner, and now we'll get to talk to him and ask him how he did it.
Yeah, into the booth he goes, and that number 86 of Dominic Howe. Into the booth he goes. Dominic, you played the strategy right. All you had to do is hit pit road around 56 laps ago, and you pick up the checkered flag here for tonight. First off, congratulations. What was going through your mind during those final restarts?
Yeah, I don't know. I had the oldest tires in the field, and I was thinking for sure someone was going to get me, but I kept pulling on the starts the right amount, and I thought Harry was going to get me on that little run we had, but the caution came out, and that saved me, and I definitely stole this one today. Yep, you definitely did, and a big upset over Blaze Brinkley and Hefner and all the other drivers who were basically top 4 of Hunter Johnson and Ethan Johnson as well, and none of them picked up the win. Unfortunately for you, though, first win of the season here at USA, and after a messy Urbandale start, a definite turnaround here tonight. So congratulations. What are you looking forward to now? You might be in the championship picture. Yeah, I don't know. I do not think I'm strong at all in these cars, but I got to win now, and there's going to be some good points. So I'll be in the hunt. I don't think I'm going to be able to compete that well because of how bad my Irwindale was, but I'll be there, and maybe if some of the front runners mess up in the coming weeks, I'll be able to go for a championship.
All right, bud. 10 for Dominic Howe, and that number 86. 28 laps led at the scheduled 104 here for tonight. Congratulations, buddy, for your 3rd win of the season. Before we let you go, any sponsors want to thank you for tonight?
Nope, I am teamless and sponsorless, but thank you to Garrett Hess and the call for cheering me on through that one because I was seriously doubting my strategy right there. But it worked out and had a good time.
All right, bud. 10 for Dominic Howe, and that number 86 rounds himself out up top after starting himself all the way back at 21st. We'll go ahead and see you coming in next race, bud.
Yep, thank you.
Looks like Jacob Hefner and Blaze Brinkley 2nd and 3rd. Looks like neither of them are in the waiting room here. So we'll move our way back here to 4th place, Harry Grindle in the 70. We'll bring him up in here. Harry, got a copy?
Yeah, I've got you, Dewey.
Man, you were one of those cars that was able to contend with that 3-pack of Jacob Hefner, Blaze Brinkley, and Ethan Johnson, the best cars out there all night. But you hung tough with them for a good amount of the night, even though you got caught up in a couple incidents. Are you satisfied with 4? Or do you think maybe you had something for those top 3?
I don't think I would have had anything for the Sara cards, which dominated the whole night. I know you haven't got custom numbers on in the booth, so you probably don't see it. But for us that have custom numbers on, they've got Sara decals down the side, so that everybody with those decals on tonight was fast. So I don't know if I'd have had much for them, but I was more than happy to be able to keep pace. I was hoping that final caution wouldn't come out because I pulled away from Malachi, and honestly, I was happy finishing 2nd to Dom, providing I didn't have to deal with the 2 of Hefner and Brinkley, I think it was. But such is life. 4th, I'll take that. It's points. But yeah, I'm just happy with the way this Kamikaze Renault Sport Megane handled tonight. I was not expecting to do well tonight because places where you're heavy on the brakes usually don't suit me, but something clicked tonight, evidently.
Well, P4 out of about 32 cars, definitely nothing to be ashamed of. But you're up there in the top 10 in points now, so I mean, are you looking forward to a championship? Do you plan on running every race, or do you think you're just going to show up intermittently and just hope you have fun doing it?
I plan to run every race. I don't have any scheduling issues, and I love driving these cars. I love looking at these cars. I love... these cars are one of my favourite on the iRacing platform, through the way that they handle, through the way that they sound, and the fact that I can spot my boys over at Renault on the front and back. But yeah, I plan to run every race. I'm not sure if I'll be a championship contender. There are some fast people here, especially with the boys from Sara coming over, like Hefner, Brinkley, and those guys. So I'm not sure how well I'll be able to keep up with them. I don't think I'll be able to do it every week like I did this week, but it's definitely a confidence booster. So I'm definitely going to keep my foot in it and see what I can pull off.
Yeah, definitely in contention, though, if you do show up to every race. You've shown speed, and you won a race last year, so don't put it past yourself at all. But before we let you go tonight, any sponsors or people you want to thank here?
Well, obviously, Team Kamikaze, Renault Sports, Team Project New Zealand, they're looking at starting up a racing league of their own at some point soon. Obviously, in early works yet, but Flynn was talking to me about that. So a bunch of good guys sporting behind me.
All right, Harry Grindle, P4 here tonight at USA. Hope to see you back here for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I look forward to doing it.
That was Harry and that number 70. I think that number 70, after a nice run at Irwindale, I think he might come out as points leader, but we'll have to see on how points will shuffle. But in the meantime, of that, congratulations to that number 86 and that whole entire team of Dominic Howe to round themselves into victory lane after 104 laps of racing here tonight. Dewey, any last words?
Well, thank you all once again here for tuning into tonight's race. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want more racing, come back on Friday night. We'll have the Truck Series down at Auto Club out in Southern California. That should be a good one there. But for tonight, for Ezeckiel Reyes, I am Dewey Schramm. Thanks for watching.